Three.
Hey everybody.
All
Just
right.
point at me. Just point. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Comic Beat Insider, that Zoom pandemic podcast. Heidi MacDonald of The Beat and I started back in late March, early April, covering all sorts of things, comics, TV, mostly film it seems. And this week we're going to cover the 2011 British American 3D computer animated fantasy film called Arthur Christmas, one of my new favorites here. I am Jimmy Aquino with Comic News Insider.
And I'm Heidi MacDonald of The Beat, comicsbeat.com.
And I am John Hoche of Actor Person, and you could go to johnhoche.com.
Yeah, exactly. And very regular contributor to Comic News Insider and Comic Beat Insider for that matter. Yes. Awesome guys, thanks for joining. We had someone drop out last minute. We may have somebody pop in and join us. Maybe not, but it's all good. We all three have the gift of gab. We'll have plenty to say.
Oh, yes. And, Jimmy, you've been Christmasing hard, man.
Yeah. Well, check out my freaking tie. What's up? This is my favorite. It's ho, ho, ho. It's Santa.
Oh, very cool.
And just the beard is ho, ho, ho.
Oh, I'm trying to Christmas.
Yeah.
But the lights just went out in my Christmas ball. But that's okay. I got Grogu. Right. I got Christmas Grogu.
If you believe, the light will come back. Everybody believe, and Heidi's light will come back. It came back on. Look at that.
It did. What do we call this? Christmas Grogu?
Yeah.
No, like Noel Grogu? I don't.
Yeah.
Noel Goo.
Noel Goo. I like it. Yes. Well, he is watching over me.
Excellent.
I have made this. I never had any Christmas thing in my home because I'm never here. But this year, Baby Grogu is going to watch over.
Excellent. Awesome. So as I said, today we're covering the 2011 film Arthur Christmas from Aardman Animation as a collaborated with Sony Pictures Animation. Of course, Aardman is very famous for. We all know this, right?
Wallace and Gromit.
That's right.
The wrong trousers. Gromit.
Do some cheese. Some the legendary Wallace and Gromit, of course, and so they wanted to sort of like step away from that look, and so when they teamed up with Sony Pictures, they were like, let's go not too realistic, maybe somewhere between the claymation and realistic. So they came up with what they have here, and it's computer animated and beautifully shot, but the noses are big and round.
Oh, you guys,
like that. So
I got a big surprise for you.
Ooh,
I got a big surprise for you.
Is it a cash envelope?
No, okay. It might be our fourth member of our team.
Oh yeah!
Yay! I got Christmas. It's just like Christmas, where the special guest drops in at the last minute.
Ooh, except he dropped in at the first minute, which is great.
Well.
Joining us all the way from London, UK, or Geek Syndicate podcast, my old pal, our old pal, we love him, David Monteith. Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas,
people.
Yeah. We literally just started, so perfect timing.
I literally have about 5 minutes, but I thought I just need to come and say hey.
Say hello, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
No.
Yeah, we're just talking about, since you only have a few minutes, tell us when you first saw this and why you like it so much.
I first saw this when did I see it? 2 weeks ago.
Oh really? Oh wow. Because when you wrote, you're like, I love this film. Like, it made me think, oh, you've seen this forever, yeah.
No. I said we've just been working through some Christmas films.
Nice.
With the family. I was like, oh, what should we do this time? We did Class. We did Jingle Jangle, which has
fantastic.
Jingle Jangle has my top spot.
Fantastic. Love it. Yes.
I
loved it.
But I saw this and I loved it. And the reason I knew I was going to love it, so the opening sequence has this elves, Santa's Christmas elves. And they are hardcore.
They're like Mission Impossible ninjas, yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, I mean, the rest of the film could have been terrible, but I was. So for me, let's assume the rest of the movie was terrible. That would have been my Matrix 3, because Matrix 3 is not a great movie. But I will watch it again simply for the 20 minutes of the fight in the dock.
Sure. Yeah. Same.
So even if Arthur Christmas was a terrible movie, I would watch it again just for the beginning sequence.
Yeah, it's so detailed, like the little things they do, and we'll point that out later. Some of the things that they like, just every little thing like is thought of, and it's great. It's a British American film, but this is mostly British. Let's be honest. It's like
it's
written
very,
and directed,
very British.
Very British. Written and directed by Sarah Smith. who had worked on some other stuff with also the guy that co-directed it with her. Just lost his name, so sorry. Barry Cook. They'd worked together before. So yeah, this had I was surprised, and maybe you guys won't be when I looked at the budget. It had $100 million budget, and I was like, that seems high. Does it seem high to you?
No, animated films
not
are
for an
very
animated film.
You
animated
both
films
are
are
correct.
very expensive.
See, that's where I was ignorant, because I went and looked up other films that were released the same year, and sure enough, like you get like Cars 2 and Kung Fu Panda had like $200 and $150 million budgets.
I had no idea we were talking that kind of money.
Yeah, Rango had $135 million. Rio had a $90 million budget. Happy Feet 2 had $135. Romeo and Juliet was the biggest winner of all that. You had a $36 million budget and raked in $195. This raked in $147 million. Still considered a success, even though it had a $100 million budget. But I was like, holy shit! I guess 3D animation is very expensive.
Yeah, well, animation is very expensive because it has a huge crew, and it takes years to make an animated film. I mean, I was reading like this film, they had the idea for it like a while, and they started work on it. Yeah, they started work on it in like 2008, and from working at Disney, it takes years. Like films are in development for 5 years in animation, and
animation is very different from like writing a movie, because like once you write a movie, it's like, okay, this is how the plot will go, and maybe you write like alternate scenes here and there, but like with a animated movie, it's like, well, they have to plan like, okay, if we change this and all this gets changed, so then we have to bring those actors back in and we have to do all this new
right, fair enough. Well, and
then we have to animate to that new dialogue and everything. So, and
John and David can both attest, being actors, probably having been in those situations before. So yeah,
I suppose there is all of that thing. For if in a live action movie you are paying an actor to be a character, whereas in an animation you're paying an actor to be a character, but also the animators to be a character. And and when you start looking at the amount of different departments in the credits, I'm like, how do you even organize this? I
I mean, there's like a hair department just to like make the hair move correctly and stuff.
Literally going to say that. And another thing, like John, you're absolutely correct. And then if you look at a classic film like Aladdin that had Robin Williams, and he ad-libs all the time, and so but they lay down the voice track first, right? And then you got to do the animation. And I mean, it's a dance. It goes back and forth. And if you have someone who's creative as Robin Williams, I mean, obviously it's fantastic, one of the all-time great, voice performances. But it ain't easy.
No, it's not. So David, were you surprised at just how like of the cast is again mostly British? Were you surprised at the cast? What a fantastic British, mostly British. We do got Eva Longoria in there. We got Laura Linney in there as well. But it is 95% British. Were you surprised at everybody that was in it?
I suppose I spent my entire life, and there are the British film industry is well known, but still I spent my entire life 95% of the things I watch are American. And so I'm always surprised when I see that amount of British people, and then you hear the voices and you go, oh, it's not an American film, or it's not 100% American. But it always takes me by surprise, and this one was because I often try and go into these things without looking at who's in it, so I don't.
So you were trying to figure out who? Oh, I know that voice.
Yeah.
And
then you know that thing. You're sitting there and you just get the phone out and you're going, okay.
Yeah, start looking at who that is.
You start looking at it and you go,
Bill Nye. God damn it, that's right.
I knew it. So, but also, I mean, the characterization was so good.
Oh, God. I mean, who else could be Santa after Jim Broadbent? My God. Holy cow.
Yeah, he was pretty fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, James McAvoy as Arthur, Hugh Laurie as his bigger brother Stephen Claus, Bill Nye as Grand Santa is brilliant as Grand Santa, Jim Broadbent, Malcolm Claus, Imelda Staunton as Margaret Claus and Mrs. Claus. The amazing, who I love, Ashley Jensen as one of my favorite characters in it, Bryony Shelfley, the rapping,
the rapping elf,
and she provides. And I'll get to that later, but she provides one of the best lines in the film that has such a great meaning, whether they meant it or not. I've made up a meaning for it. The whole "there's always time for a beau." That metaphor, to me, that is such a metaphor for like, there's always time to sweat the small stuff. There's always time for like to take care of the little girl. There's always time to make sure these little things that make people happy happen. And that's why I always tell people, and people are like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "There's always time for a beau." They're like, "What? What are you talking about?" I'm like, Ask Bryony. She knows, but yeah. Brilliant. Great cast.
So David, let me ask you, I mean, I am jumping up ahead a little bit, but we've been ensconced in Christmas season here on Comic Beat Insider. This is our second month of Christmas, and that's fine.
Woo-hoo!
It's great.
Keep it going forever.
But we've done the classics. We've done White Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life, and
Miracle on 34th Street.
So I would say for previous films you've done, the biggest comparison would be to Miracle on 34th Street, where Santa is a mystery and an enigma, and we don't ever really know whether this man is Santa. Whereas this movie, of all of them, like I would say in modern films, like with Elf, there's kind of been a drilling down on the mechanics of Christmas. And this movie is the Christmas action film, the elves. Just quickly, David, and the rest of the panel, if you want to jump in though. I mean, how do you think this version of Christmas fits into the Christmas film canon?
I love it because it takes it into the almost science fiction.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I'm not expecting to sit down to watch a Christmas movie and see this awesome Star Destroyer, because that's what it was.
It looks like a cross between like the Enterprise in a sleigh. And it's which I'm sure is what they went for. And I was
and I just remembered the very first time I saw Star Wars, I was maybe 11, and I'm sitting in the cinema, and the Star Destroyer comes, and I'm like, I've never seen a spaceship so big, and I'm just gazing. And I'm doing that in a Christmas movie.
Yeah. It covers an entire town.
It covers an entire town, but also they've got this reflection technology, or this.
It's like a helicarrier.
So you don't know that he's there because you see the stars on the other side, and I'm like,
it's brilliant.
For me, it was like you've taken us. This is the missing link to the future of Christmas.
Well, it is quintessentially British too, because that opening scene alone, showing Little Gwyn's sort of little town, Truly, I think it is, in Cornwall. Trelew, and Cornwall. Now,
Cornwall.
In one of the little extras on the Blu-ray, they talk about how the animators just went to remember their own towns growing up, but also went to certain small little towns, and you'd see a mix of traditional, old hundreds-year-old, centuries-old buildings with some of the newer ones, near the end scene we see a co-op, the little grocery store co-op, but then you see the old school sort of castle-looking buildings, and they set it up like a real little British village, and it was so homey and so I'm like, I want to live in that little cul-de-sac. It looks great.
A semi-detached house.
I know cul-de-sacs like that. I was like, it's funny the little things you notice, because the little girl at the beginning is going to post a letter to Santa, and I was like, she could have walked around and stayed on the pavement, but she chose to cross. But then you would cross, and I was thinking, that's what I do in that cul-de-sac. I have done myself.
Absolutely. Used to have friends live in cul-de-sacs. Yeah.
I also loved how it showed that Santa isn't a single person. And
yes, the opening of all the it's a family hierarchy
business, and it's handed on after 70 missions, was it, or something like that?
I feel just to set up the film. I mean, when Jimmy proposed this and said Arthur Christmas, I was not familiar with this film. I thought he was talking about the PBS Arthur. So I was like, it must be the friendly dog has a Christmas lesson. All right, cute.
Fair enough.
Jimmy loves Christmas, so
or maybe it was Dudley Moore. They did a sequel we don't know about.
I knew it wasn't that. I thought my mind. My mind riffled quickly through the index cards of movie Arthurs, and
Is it a Camelot Christmas?
Right. So I came to this, and of course, huge fan of Iron Man. But yeah, I mean this.
So you only saw it for the first time this week,
right? I saw it for the first time last night, and this science of Santa. You're absolutely right. It's a science fiction film, and the idea that okay, I mean, how does he have a young son like Arthur, and then this?
Well, listen, Malcolm and Margaret, we're getting it on. Just saying.
Yeah.
Lots of love. It gets cold in the North
I've never thought of that. Now I can't unsee that.
Well, that was the first thing I thought, because I thought, surely he's Santa's grandson, because he's a young lad, and Santa's middle-aged, and I mean, probably gets probably what in the U.S. what we call AARP. I mean, I'm just saying. But anyway, we see this American Association of Retired Persons It's a thing.
You
It's
turn
a thing.
50, you get a piece of mail.
Yeah,
You're like,
here once in America,
LOL.
when you turn 50, they start
Like,
spamming
hey, you want to sign up? Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, but we see that there's been this panoply of Santas, this heritage of Santa the 14th, 15th, 16th, and then the current Santa started in 1941, and he has two sons, Steve, voiced by Hugh Laurie, who is
oh my god,
this action figure
like
of a man,
military figure,
military Santa,
military,
a humorless git, really. And then Arthur, who is a feckless git who's answering the mail, and then we have the Santa
with a heart of gold.
Oh yes,
Arthur wants every child to be happy, and he thinks his dad Santa's the greatest man in the world. And just he's so charming from the very beginning. You're like, he's so naive but just full of hope and light, and like, oh, we need more people like that around.
I love that. Whereas Steve wants Christmas to be cost effective.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, he's got that tight down. He's got every little thing tight down, and the way he wants it run. When was the first time you saw it, John?
Just a few weeks ago for this.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
I had known about it, but I didn't know like what it was about, and like I feel like I don't know, just like the title and things like that. I was like, I'm not into. I wasn't. It didn't appeal to me.
Yeah, I get it.
And then when I watched it, I was like, what is this? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's to me, it's not only is it like, you know, this giant spaceship that has like shield technology. It's
thousands of elves on it.
Very much shot like an action movie too, with like sweeping camera, you know, movements and all this other thing. So it was a really, really fun action movie for me to be surprised to watch.
And again, it's a very like I mean, you know, there was the there's that Santa, that thing where Fred Astaire is Santa, right? We've all seen that, right? You know, it's a stop motion.
Maybe yeah, where he's a mailman. Yeah.
What's that called?
Oh, God, is that Frosty?
No. Anyway, but it's
like kind of like the history of Santa.
The history of Santa, and anyone who's listening to this and we can't remember the title of it is going to be really shameful because it's on all the time, even now. But anyway, that delves into the mechanics of Santa.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Santa Claus is coming to town, of course. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Except they didn't have that rockin' version back then.
And so. Like this, I feel like, and you know, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is obviously about the mechanics of Santa, and again, I feel like there's a big swath where, you know, like the story of Santa. This is a really great entry in this canon, you know, because
I agree. I think it's going to be a classic soon enough.
Yeah. I will say, I think the title is a problem.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because it is kind of like, what's this movie about? Like, I want to say I saw it in theaters, but I don't think I did. But I know I saw it very shortly after because I kept hearing about it. I'm like, oh, this looks really funny. And like, oh, the cast is British. I'm like, check this out. So I've seen it. I don't remember, but I know I've seen it multiple times for probably the past at least 7-8 years or whatever. It's only 9 years old, but I think I probably caught it like a year or two after it came out. I'm like, let me just buy the DVD.
I mean, I've just looked and I can't believe that was from 2011.
Yeah.
It felt it. I mean, it's not a great amount of time, but it's aged well. There are movies half its age that don't age well. Matt.
Yes, agreed.
Name names. No.
Yeah.
And I think I read that this was the most well-received animated movie of the year.
Well, again, that year that came out, it was a big year for animation. So, it was Cars 2, Kung Fu Panda, Rio, Happy Feet 2, Romeo and Juliet, Rango, which did really well. So it was a good year for animation. All those films did pretty well, except for like, I think Happy Feet 2 didn't do too well money-wise, or but most of the other ones did pretty well.
But you know, a lot of those are you know, sequels or adaptations. I mean, I will say this movie's really, I mean, you know, you could say there's the Santa myth, so it's taken off of that, but this movie's really original. I mean, really I didn't know, you know, again, like John, I don't look up what's happening or, you know, see who did what, and it just, I was like, what? Okay. I was looking at the stills and I had no idea. I thought, oh, Arthur's going to be this bumbling kid, and which he is. but I didn't foresee how that was going to play out.
That arc played out, yeah. But now we've got to, so we cover some of the beginning. Now we've get to the point where Dave talked about the L's, the Mission Impossible Ninja L's. Watch it. You have to watch it multiple times to catch it. I still don't catch everything. Like every little thing of like, make sure the door is closed. Make sure that cutting the incision. Oh, let me turn the oven back on for them. Let me close the toilet door. Let me slide that over there.
One of the elves seasons the person's.
Yes, exactly.
That's the best part.
That's great. Yeah, it turns. Yeah.
He like just puts a little bit of pepper and salt into their whatever slow cooking on their stove.
It turns the oven back on and checks the turkey.
Yeah.
It's all these little things that they did.
Takes a bite of the
yeah.
Get on the way out. Just
dozens of little things like that happen in that span of a few minutes.
He's got a little contraption that puts a bite in the carrot. So
that was cool. And then the naughty and nice detector. And then
my God, yes.
That was a great moment where the one elf goes naughty. He's like, ding, 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 and shines it on himself to give the kid a little nice. Oh, let's give him. I was like, oh, that's nice.
And I think the thing that I really liked about that moment was he was like only 87% nice. Because I was like, well, it's kind of naughty to like cheat for this kid.
Yeah.
So obviously you're not going to be 100% nice. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
Go on, David. I'm sorry.
A thing that I loved was when Santa was in danger of waking the kid up.
Yes.
Oh, we gotta wake her. It's like, dang it, we gotta wake her.
And the entire back in the North Pole, Steve is there running things like a military commander at the fortress with hundreds of elves at all their stations, literally hundreds of elves at their stations. And then when they find the Waker, it was Waker. So like meaning a little kid has woken up, so they got to try and figure out what to do. And of course, Steve with his military mind figures out a good way to do it. And just the way they get out, it's so tense. It's like you said, like an action, like a mission. Where you're like, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna get out? And like they're creating
you're gonna have to make a decision. Go straight in through the red battery compartment.
Go straight in
precise
through the Robin.
Cutting,
straight in through the Robin. Yes.
So precise.
And then like with the fake car, I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. Like shoving them out just in time.
So good.
And then as all the elves are coming up, watch for these little moments. Great job. One elf has a freaking mousetrap on his foot. Like, oh, we got an elf down. You know, like they're taking the stretcher on the way back. It's like, oh, we had a casualty. You know, and it's like all these just subtle little jokes.
The world building. But after they do the naughty or nice, they have like a tube that they put in the stocking, and it's the naughty or niceometer that determines what you're going to get in your stocking, right? So, which is brilliant. I mean, like I said, obviously Wallace and Gromit is known for its physical gags, its contraptions, kind of the Rube Goldberg world. I mean, this takes this whole how does it work idea to the nth degree, and the detail is insane.
Yeah, so we're on in the as they're coming back. So Steve's like, "Great, mission accomplished," and we hear the computer voice. It's Laura Linney's voice, which I didn't realize till much later. And if you notice what she says, and this is another great explanation, where she says, "Converting milk and cookies to biofuel." I'm like, "Oh, that is awesome!" He doesn't eat them all, so it helps biofuel for the ship. I'm like, that is so great. Oh, so many great little moments. And Steve is there, and he has this little great assistant elf, Peter the elf, who is very much in love with Steve. Let's just be honest. Peter is in love with Steve big time. Steve kind of knows. He's kind of like, all right, buddy, take it easy. But he's so great. And again, all these little subtle jokes for adults are in there. Like any good kid movie has these great jokes. But it was like, oh, so good. If you notice, Steve's goatee is a Christmas tree.
Right. Steve had this. I mean, a Santa with a goatee. Steve.
I really want Steve's Christmas camo though.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Really cool. It was like red with the Christmas tree camo kind of design. Very cool.
I want Arthur's slippers.
But later, I mean, jumping ahead really quick, really shortly, Steve, when he kind of puts on his Santa Claus outfit, it's Versace.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what? But I was like, I don't know if I might get behind a Santa like that, actually.
Yeah, it's like, it's a little modern Santa. Why not? I got to upgrade the suit on occasion. Why not?
I'm going to jump in here. I'm sure Jimmy had a note, but on this, but I'm going to steal his thunder on it. But they have all these elves. Like there's, Santa has this legion of elves, but the voices of the elves are pretty.
Brilliant.
freaking amazing.
Holy cow, so many great ones, yes.
Sanjeev Bakar, Michael Pillar's not, he's like this old elf, but then Robbie Coltrane, Joan Cusack, Rhys Darby, Jane Horrocks, love her, Ian McKee, and Andy Serkis, and Dominic West.
Yes.
So it's like, like this movie has multiple viewings for sure.
And I also read that initially. I read initially David Tennant was supposed to be Arthur Christmas, but
really? I didn't read that.
I don't know if he started recording it and they changed their mind or something like that.
I could see that. Sure.
He would have been a good Arthur.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he would have too. Yeah, for sure.
He would have been a little.
It was great, but yeah.
I think that his voice would have aged Arthur up a little bit.
Maybe.
He could kind of keep the same look, but like just changing his voice that much, probably just maybe aged him up.
Sure, fair enough. So we get introduced to everyone pretty quickly, all the family, and then like we see, take away that Santa, the Jim Broadbent Santa is just sort of like kind of there. He's kind of a figurehead. He shows up. They wake him up on the chair. They're like, set a present down, and he doesn't really do much. Steve does everything, and but Arthur, they all still, of course, worship him because he's Santa, and even Arthur worships him too. And then we meet good old Grand Santa. Who's the best? Oh my God, Bill Nye is so great. Who's 136 years old
and just doesn't give a
no. And when they're sitting after the mission accomplished, so they think, they sitting around the dinner table with the whole family, and they bring up the whole thing about the kid, the waker. He says the best thing is like, back in my day, we just whack him on the head with a sock full of sand and a nip of whiskey on the lips. Oh my God, I died laughing at that.
Accurate.
So exactly, so accurate too. Like, because he did back in the day, put a little brandy on the kids' baby's lips to make them stop crying. Maybe you still do these days. Yeah, great.
I love the fact that it took us. I mean, just jumping ahead a little. It took us. So when Grand Santa gets in the sleigh, like once more for old times. And he's navigating by this map, and it takes us so long to work out this map is so out of date. It's fine. There's nothing here. This is a city, Granda.
It's so great, and of course I love that Mrs. Santa, who's like just always the one behind the scenes, secretly running everything because she has these little throwaway lines. Well, I've got to sign that or do that treaty with Greenland. I'm like, oh, she's running shit. She's making a treaty with Greenland.
Well, it emerges when they think Christmas is done.
Yeah.
It emerges that one little girl has not gotten her present. And little Gwen has not gotten her bicycle. And this is
the little girl whose village we were shown in the very beginning. Yes.
And so this is really the central MacGuffin of the whole film, because how all these 8 different Santas react to this is very telling. And the one who cannot let it go is Arthur.
Our boy Arthur, yeah.
Then the fun begins.
Yeah, so there's this whole thing of where, like, during the emergency, where they lost time, they lost pressure when they had to, like, get Santa off the, like, noisemaker. Everyone panicked, and this bike that was Gwen's present got knocked over and down into the back somewhere, like behind whatever. So that's why it was missed. One child out of billions was missed. And they only find out because the sweepers coming around, cleaning up all the stuff. Like, oh no. And like you said, you see each of them, all 4 of them. You have Arthur, you have Steve, you have Santa, you have Grand Santa, how they react. And Arthur's the only one at first that genuinely wants, we can't, what he talked about, we can't forget her. That's a child. A child doesn't have a toy, wants to wake up the whole North Pole. A child, was left out, And,
it does establish. I mean, that one thing is that. I mean, it's the point of the whole film, but it establishes the moral center of the whole film.
Yes.
In which Steve looks at it and goes, this is a 99.999% successful operation.
Yeah.
What can you do? And Arthur is like, well, we do what we have to.
Yeah.
No one left behind. We don't stop because it was almost really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's
then Jim Broadbent Santa is just kind of like, he just kind of follows what everybody tells him. Oh, well, that's a shame. Oh, okay. Well,
he's pretty ambivalent at this time because I think because he's also supposed to retire this year.
Oh, right. Yeah, we missed that part. Yeah, we see the part.
He all of a sudden makes a speech at the end of Christmas or the end of his run that he's going to do it next year. So
and Steve was all ready to take over.
Yeah, so
he was ready.
So current Santa, Daddy Santa, is kind of one that isn't ready to transition to retirement. And it's interesting. They all have, they all have their different motivations. But like David said, like Arthur is like the only one who's got a pure soul, as it were.
Yeah, backing up to that, to when they came back real quick. So they land back at North Pole, and everyone's cheering on Santa. He makes a speech, and it's great. So there's all these moments. You see like the one elf that had the mousetrap being taken away in a stretcher. You see like the famous like sailor kissing the woman thing reenacted. That I'm like, oh my god, it's so great. And then you have once again Peter giving a present to Steve, and it's a pair of boxers. And he's like, the S is for Santa, not Steve. And Steve's like, oh, right, thanks, Peter. Peter is enamored. He is ready for some Steve Santa. Let me tell you what. So Steve's ready for some Steve Santa too, because if you when to his surprise and chagrin, when Santa says, I'm going to come back next year, if you look at his little postcards or his little note cards, it's like his little notes to himself, surprised, humbled, like that, where he's like, you're going to fake it all. Oh, I can't believe I'm going to be Santa. It's so great. All these little bits they do not forget. It's so great. And then it's so great when we get like, when Steve always has his phone on him, because it's like runs everything. And then he looks at a text. It is from Peter. And Peter says, I'm still up, just so you know.
I missed that one.
I did too. I missed that.
Oh my god, Peter is like full on, like leading, like
that's a full on you up text.
Exactly. He's not afraid to show his love. Steve's just like, oh, I need him, but whatever.
Well, I thought, I sort of missed this Peter subtext, but I did wonder. Does Steve have Mrs. Santa? I mean, there is always a Mrs. Santa, but
right.
I did wonder, how does given that they're at the North Pole and there's no other humans around but family, how do they continue the line?
Where did Mrs. Santa come from?
Santa probably, he travels the world. So he probably maybe a mommy was there, and that's where the song comes from.
They got to do like
a Santa Claus.
They got to do like an Arthur II Rumspringa. And Steve goes to find a wife or something.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that's awesome. It's so great. So, also a British thing here, and of course everyone noticed this, and I always try to teach my friends this at the dinner table. Now, in England, the Christmas crackers are a big thing, and I've introduced them to my friends every year.
You mean they're not everywhere?
Exactly. Yeah. So I've even got some this year.
I did a Christmas, I have an English ex-husband, and we did Christmas.
Can you see they're Mandalorian? They're Mandalorian.
Oh, nice Mandalorian mottos.
And the memes are becoming more and more popular. They were at Target, and they had all these different nerdy ones. So I'm like, all right.
Oh, Target.
So yeah.
Was that the Target?
To the British.
Is that the Target where you're staying, Jimmy?
No. I got them at the one near where I live.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's like
cool, Target.
Yeah, but I usually go to the British store. There's a couple British stores downtown. As you guys know, I usually go to either Myers and Keswick or oh god, what's the other one? I forgot. Where Salt and Battery is.
The
whatever.
British,
the
Anglophile.
Yeah.
Thirst trap.
There. But so that's why people always. I was like, you see those little plastic crowns I wear? Those are from Christmas crackers, and the dumb jokes they tell, those are from Christmas crackers. That's once again, it's like. Why are they British? It's like, was the whole line British? Were they, like?
Well, they got some pretty good Christmas traditions in England. I gotta say, Boxing
absolutely.
Day is awesome, and the hats are awesome, and Christmas ale is also awesome.
Yes.
Mustn't forget that, although you do.
Oh
yes. Like.
So skipping back up ahead, we get to where the missing child, the bike. And then they're trying to figure out, they're all in the same, like, what's going to happen. And then we get introduced to one of my favorite characters, Bryony, the rapping elf, who's like kind of really low in the totem pole in elves, but she's a very enthusiastic rapper, as in
and she has a
gift
very strong
wrapper.
Scottish accent.
Yes, and it's
which is
Ashley
just
Jensen. Oh, I love
which
it.
I can't possibly imitate, but it's like the new present could be interrupt.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
there's nothing going to interrupt in my watch.
Yeah,
Heidi, that's great. You
that's
can
pretty
totally
good. I know. There's always time for a bull.
Better, it's better.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And she's also very similar to Arthur. Like, we can't leave a child behind. So they immediately like, okay, we're friends. We're gonna fix this. But then Peter's like so snarky to her. If you notice, Peter, Steve's assistant, is like, oh, she's that rappy elf. He's always like this, rolling his eyes at her. I'm like, oh, he's just a sassy little bitch, that Peter. Like, I love him because he's like willing to put it all out there. Give a pair of underwear to your boss. Absolutely.
Well, anyway, they enlist Grand Santa
Yes.
to go on the mission to deliver this gift, and Grand Santa is, coming out of retirement.
Well, no, they don't enlist him. It's Grand Santa's
idea. He's his idea.
He wants to, because Steve's like, well, we can't go do it, and Santa's like, man, what do I don't know. No one's told me what to do. And then Arthur's like, we have to, and Grand Santa's like, well, I still have my old sleigh and the reindeer. We can do it. And yeah, so that's what it's saying.
And they bring out the old sleigh, which has got all these levers, and Evie, this like decrepit reindeer in the cone, that you wear so you won't scratch. You put on your pet so they won't scratch themselves. Again, it's just all the details. It's a very steampunk sleigh. And yes, it's very steampunk. Yeah. And then off they go, but not without some mishaps, because
lots of mishaps.
Many mishaps. And so their first mishap takes place when they land in the city, and they have a magic dust that makes the reindeer fly, which is very important. And they think they're in England, but they're not. And I love the fact that it was Toronto.
Because digging on Toronto.
Because you'd never see Toronto in Christmas movies, that aren't Canadian. And Jimmy and I both go to Toronto every year. Well, we did for TCAF. We fond. I love Toronto. It's a fantastic city.
Love it.
So it's
clean little New York. Yeah.
Yes. And then so they leave some reindeer behind. And so this disturbed me.
One gets left behind. Throughout the film, we keep losing a reindeer.
And that made me realize, though, as we were watching this, that this is not a Disney film.
Yeah.
Because if this were a Disney film, how that reindeer got back to the sleigh. Now, we see this later on of how, no reindeer left behind. But reindeer left behind, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, I think that's one of those things where I think... they covered their bases in alluding that these aren't the original reindeer. They were like Dancer and Dasher and
oh my god,
these other ones.
It's Dancer. He's like John, Bambi, and the one with the white ear. Oh my god.
So it's like we can lose the ones that we don't care about, but the classic reindeer has to stay, kind of thing. Like I felt John. Like that was like what they were trying to do.
Oh, that's so great. I wonder if any of that was improvised. Any certain little things there, certain lines here and there.
I'm sure there was some.
Bill Nye or whoever else. Yeah.
But again, I realized that he loses. I mean, there's a lot of things that get wrecked in this movie that aren't, it's not like everything is set up, at the end, mischief managed, and they wave the wands and everything's sent back. There's a lot of the Santa stuff is destroyed or lost or broken, and
they take a detour to Africa, and that part, the end of. That whole part kind of disturbed me in that regards. I was like, okay, so they're going to get eaten by lions. No, they're not going to get eaten by lions, but those lions are going to attack.
Yeah. Right.
And then all of a sudden, they spread the dust as far as they can, and then the entire savannah is just floating, and you're like,
it's magical.
Going to go.
Like when the family of meerkats pops up, you're like, of course, meerkats. That's great. It's great.
One of the things I loved was that their actions have serious consequences. So I just popped out. So I don't know if you said this, but the fact that Grand Santa got banned from flying because he caused the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right. That's right. Yeah. He caused all these things throughout his run. So they go from Toronto and they end up being in.
I'm just gonna say I have to go. I got some baby duties.
Of course.
But I've I love this film, and I just love, and talking about it with you guys has made me want to go and rewatch it.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna watch it after this again.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. So, David, thank you, and
man,
happy holidays,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, thanks
happy
again.
Christmas.
Take care.
Have some good Christmas crackers and get
yes.
On it.
Let's just Zoom after the holidays, say hello and see what's going on, and catch up.
Take care.
All right, bud. Happy Christmas.
Bye.
Bye. Awesome. Oh, I'm so glad you could join us for a little bit.
I know, that was wonderful. It was a Christmas surprise.
Yes, it's a true Brit to talk about a bunch of other Brits. So that's great.
Yes, they do love that. So,
yeah.
But yeah. But so but after the Toronto mishap, and there's all not to spoil. Just go watch the movie. But and then the main problem. They find Trelou finally, and Briony has a little GPS like all the elves do, and they find Trelou, and they go into the house, about to deliver the bike, and it turns out.
But this is also where we get the line the first time. There's always time for a bull.
Yes, because she's an amazing rapper.
Yeah,
and she's rapping. We learn there was a Trelou in Mexico as well as Cornwall.
And that's where they went.
And that's where they went. So these Santas do not know where they're going, and it's really getting embarrassing. So this, there's a epic quest that takes us from continent to continent, all fueled by the fairy dust. And but when they land in Africa, the sleigh, everything, all the reindeer, gonzo.
Yeah, we lose 2 reindeer there. We lost 1 already. We lost 2 there, and 1 in Toronto, 2 in Africa, I think. And then at one point they get like a fake reindeer metal piece from a car dealership, and that's when the governments from the world notice there's a UFO flying around. So then we're introduced to a familiar voice, Ava Longoria, as the head of this. What's it called?
Eunice.
Untifa, something like that. Unfita is what it is. Unfita. And like the United, Unfita is the United whatever Federation of Alliance or something like that. But it's so great. So we get to Mexico, and he's like, all right. And I love that Brianna again. It's like, there's an alarm. So what does she do? She wraps the alarm. Like, it's so great.
Like, I didn't know how that was gonna like deter the alarm from going off at all, but I loved the fact that she did it.
Yeah,
it was just a character.
That's how she solves problems, is just by wrapping it. Like, she even wrapped her own face. Grandson was like, wrap your head. She's like, okay. She's so great. I love her. So this is then also back home, the whole mission control, they're getting wind of it, like, oh my god, are you serious? Grand Santa and Arthur out there. And then the old guy, that's when old Michael Palin shows up, the old elf, and they have this old ancient little system where they could try to communicate with them. But then it turns out all the electricity in the North Pole. And another brilliant line, Peter making his move, and you have here, let's go, Peter, and like say it's, and she's like, Peter, let go of my hand, please. It's like Peter takes every opportunity to show his love. And I'm like, good for you, man. Go for it. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. So great. But yeah, so we and also the other little subtle things, when the lights come back on, you see these little, and it shows again later, the elves are on the computer. One of them, there's like a little Clippy. Remember the old Microsoft Clippy?
Yes.
It was like, have you lost Christmas? It's so great. All these subtle.
Well, one of the criticisms of the film when it came out was, people said that it was very busy, and it's very busy. Now that's an Aardman, but that's an Aardman trademark, Wallace and Gromit. I mean, that's why we love Wallace and Gromit so much, is that there's just, they don't stop to let you catch up. And I mean, this movie, I will say, when I watched it last night, I often fall asleep watching movies. That's why I don't watch as much TV as Jimmy does and John, because I fall asleep so much. Okay, it's just what happens. But of course I rewind. I watched everything, but I was like, man, I need to watch this movie again. There's just too much. No, it's just, it's made for repeat viewings, and it is so frantic that I mean, if I'd been in the theater, unless I was like jacked, man, I would have been like, I was jacked after I watched it for sure.
I also think that this is like, a great like holiday movie, especially one for kids, is one that obviously adults can watch too.
Yes.
And I think that this movie, like, you can plant your kids in front of and watch with them, and you'll definitely get a different experience than they get, because you'll pick up on different things. And as this should be a classic movie, like in a household or something that you watch every year, as those kids grow up, I think they're going to pick up on more of the details.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like,
Well,
like their appreciation for the movie will grow even more.
Just like as we got older and started realizing the hidden meanings behind Bugs Bunny in a dress and always kissing Elmer Fudd on the lips. It's like, there's what's going on.
well, as you know, I watched it on Amazon, and it had a warning. It said language, drug use, and violence.
Drug use.
Drug use? Oh, the magic dust? Maybe? Is that the drug use? That's the only thing I can think of. Is there any other thing that can be considered drug use?
No.
I don't know.
Mince pies? It's like, what? And language, like besides, I mean, there's obviously no cursing in it, but it's just like,
Well,
Right.
Grand Santa is pretty foul.
Yeah.
The things he says.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty-
there's a little innuendo. Then
Yeah.
Steve, maybe Steve and Peter there. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Get a little saucy little elf.
Yeah. But then like after a while things seem like a little forlorn, and for once in a very, very short time Arthur loses hope, and you're like, oh no. No, they're
Well,
like
they're
stranded on this
rowing
island.
in
Before that, they're stranded on an island first, and they're
Yeah.
trying to figure out they lost hope, and Brian even calls him out. He's like, "Why does it matter?" She goes, "You stop believing in 6 minutes." It's like what are you talking about? So he kind of loses it. Then he sees Gwen's letter again, and it brings him back. And they're trying to figure out ways. They come up with this plan, and like he gets in a rowboat. They want to row to Toulouse, as you were saying. But then they like wait the sleigh because they'd lost the sleigh, so the reindeer are flying around like they'll be back around. We just got to get away up there, and they're trying to figure out a way for him to get up there with the magic dust, whatever. And he's like, I'm only good at worrying. I'm like, I feel you, Arthur. That's all I'm good at is worrying. I'm like, yep, that'll get you through it, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's there's the trappings of a Christmas movie here, but beneath all the jokes.
Yeah, for sure. And I just love Arthur's dedication to Gwen is so sweet. And we need more of that in this world. Like again, it's that always time for Bo, always time for Gwen, always time for the little things. Take the time, people, to take care of those little things for the loved ones in your life. They will appreciate it.
You're right,
sure.
Jimmy.
That's
You're
right.
right.
Same. So if I ever say always time for a bow, that's what I mean. So by now everyone's gotten wind of it. CNN, the governments of the world, the unfit, Steve and Santa and all these other ones. So then they decide, okay, now we're gonna deliver the bike. Steve and Santa are to go and then go rescue Grandpa and Arthur, I guess. And what happens to them?
They go to
the same place.
They go to Toulouse, Mexico.
My question is by now the little kid there is up. And his little name, his name is Pedro. Does he ever get that bike? Because like Steve tries to take it away.
Well, he had the super bike under the tree,
Right.
so he's getting a bike. So I think it looked pretty safe for Pedro. Pedro's getting his bike. Yeah.
Okay, because he was still, but he clearly, like, he's a kid. He still wanted that one. He's like, I want this one too. So guess he's just being a kid. But yeah, it's great. So we come to the after all these hijinks and everything, and again
all the Santas converge
in
Toulouse, Cornwall.
Yeah, they finally get there. They get chased by the government, and Grand Santa seemingly sacrificed himself to a drone plane. It's like, holy cow!
I thought that was actually. I mean, there is one of the themes of here is aging, and Santa and Evie. We know Grand Santa and Evie, the old reindeer. We know they're past their prime, and at one point he does say, you know what? That's it. We're sacrificing ourselves. Evie, she's had a good run, and I was like, whoa!
I actually think Evie's the name of the sleigh, isn't it? I can't remember the name of the reindeer.
Oh, I thought the
reindeer.
I don't know if they named the.
I don't think they named the reindeer. Yeah, Evie's
the
sleigh. Yeah.
See, every time they said Evie, I thought they meant the sleigh.
No, it's the sleigh.
Oh,
it is
the reindeer.
Yes,
I thought they meant the reindeer. Okay, all right. So the old reindeer. Well, she should have.
But he loved Evie too. He loved.
Yeah. Well, they were. Yeah. Okay. Well, so that's it. So they're all. So I misunderstood that scene entirely because I thought he was saying the reindeer was going to sacrifice herself, and maybe it was a guy reindeer. I don't know, a boy reindeer.
But he kind of says goodbye to the reindeer. He's kind of like, go on.
Yeah.
And then the reindeer turns around. I was like, oh no, this sweet little moment. And and it's so sweet. And like we know Grand Grand Santa's not going to be dead, but just like, oh my God, you're just like, holy cow, you know.
But it was a lot different than, say, again, comparing it to Disney. You know, like in Disney, you know, end of Toy Story 3. Do I need to say anything else? Okay.
I honestly thought they were going to kill them.
Yeah, right. And then we're all tearing up right now, like, just mentioning it, right?
Like, especially the point where, like, Woody turns to him and they're resolved they're going to die, and he grabs their hands. I was like,
oh, I'm crying. I'm crying.
They're going to kill them.
You're right. But the way I'm just saying the way they do it in a Disney movie. First off, they drag out the suffering as much as you possibly can. It's Disney. There's close up, you know, just cut back and forth. So anyway, this was a lot different, and it was a little more brutal that Grand Santa was going to sacrifice himself. It was just a little bit more. Like I said, I was very much aware that it wasn't a Disney movie and that we might experience some real loss in this movie in a non-Disney way.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting, too, was like, because they're racing to get there before sun up.
Yes.
That's when the kid's going to wake up. So when at first, when Arthur and Bryony land, he's like, how do we get down? He starts riding the bike down. In another, it almost feels like that scene from Dracula, where they're racing to beat the night. Yeah. You know, it's like, oh my God, you're like, holy crap. And but another brilliant thing, Bryony rapping as he rides. In that final rap, it's like, I've got 3 sticks of tape, and like, you know, like 2 things, like, oh my God, so brilliant. And then she gets stuck in the tree, F down, you know, and I love that. Then Arthur says it, there's always time for a bill. I'm like, yes. He gets it too. Yes, there's always time, because he was kind of against it at first too. He's like, no time, but he gets it. So brilliant, so brilliant. But then they're worried that he hasn't made it in time. But who shows up? We got the giant spacecraft.
That's
the Santa Star. I don't know.
Yeah. The S1.
Yeah. I that was the coolest thing too, because like the sun's about to come up, and then all of a sudden it flies in, and projects, you know, the night sky and stuff. That was very cool.
So great. And it's so great. They get in there, and like, you know, then they have that little fight of who's gonna go, all 4 of them, and then brilliant Grand Santa is being pulled in a garbage by the reindeer. Oh my God, it's so great. All these little things I just love. Oh my gosh.
And then, but you know, who will succeed? Santa. And will it be Steve or Arthur?
Yeah. But even before that, who's going to actually drop the present?
Right. And they're fighting.
Like, they're fighting.
But, you know, I will say, like, you know, Grand Santa we see as, you know, the cantankerous old. It reminded me of, you know, Father Ted, who's the old father, the old priest, Father Ted, a classic English comedy figure. But current Santa is kind of a SHIT.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he wasn't really all that awesome as a Santa.
Kind of like, oh, sure, yeah, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of him.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And he's just kind of a bubbly old dude. Yeah.
He never had a moment where you know, he like took the reins again.
Yeah, he tried. He tried to, but then realized he couldn't do it.
Like, he was lacking.
When he gets on the ship and tries to run it, and then immediately Margaret reads the manual. She figures it out, you know, of course. But then Steve comes in and he's like tries to. I'm gonna run. I'm Santa, and then he's like, "Go ahead, you drive." You know, because he knows he doesn't know it. He's just sort of the figurehead. He admits it. But yeah, so they all, like, you know, Arthur's like, no, Santa's got to deliver the present. So he gives it to his dad. His dad actually, I think this was his moment. His dad was kind of like, you do it, Arthur. You do it. And that was the kind of like, oh, okay, he gets it too. They all get that Arthur's the one that's keeping the true spirit of Christmas, true spirit of Santa alive. And they all resolve themselves at the end. And Steve even kind of has a resolution too, because Arthur had given him that little Santa game piece. Mm-hmm. And Steve is like, it's yours. And as they come out of the window and they're escaping the house, Bryony's like, mission accomplished. We've got a new Santa as well. It's like, and everyone's like, Arthur?
But we do not. So then, you know, so we know Arthur's going to be the next Santa, obviously, but we don't quite see him. We don't see him as Santa. Like, but it does. I loved the ending of this movie. Yeah. I thought it was so touching and sweet.
Yeah.
And, you know, singing "Make Someone Happy," and then we get the postcards of where everybody is, and then it says they're happy. They're happy doing what they're doing, which is really wonderful. And but it didn't show Arthur as Santa. And I was
No.
wondering if they thought that was for the sequel or
Oh,
why.
maybe. Yeah, I was kind of curious too. Like, part of it was like, oh, they don't want to like give away the, I don't know, the magic look of it. Maybe because he hasn't grown the beard yet. I don't know, but
Well,
it's
it
like,
didn't. Well, the idea
yeah,
of this young, feckless youth being Santa is a little bit of a stretch.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But you got to start somewhere. I mean, going back to the Rankin Bass one, he started out with a pretty young one, the redhead,
Yeah.
became Santa. He started pretty young. It had his red beard before it became white. But I do also love right before that when he's announced as the next Santa, Peter, ever the opportunist. I wonder if Arthur likes espresso. I'm like, oh, he just wants to move on up in this world, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's a
but everyone,
Santa
yes,
effer.
yes. But everyone, you do, it is a nice button for everybody. Everyone gets like, Malcolm retires, the Santa retires, and he and Margaret live happily ever after, taking salsa lessons. Steve becomes a COO of the company and runs, basically doing what he was doing. So Peter stays with him because he's in charge still. And then Arthur is Santa, and Bryony gets promoted into like vice president of rapping. Like, yes,
Pacific
Bryony.
Division.
Yes,
Pacific,
yes.
not worldwide,
Sure,
only
sure.
Pacific, which is another one of those the detail in the movie that is just delightful.
She's so great.
Yeah.
And then even better, and this is why for sure the sleigh. They show the sleigh renamed Evie instead of S1. You see Evie on the side. You're like, oh, in honor of Grandpa Santa, Grand Santa. It's so great.
Nice.
Just a sweet, heartwarming. Like, who knew going in? Like, oh, it's just full of slapstick, but there's just family dynamics.
I do. I think it's really good, and I will say I don't think it is in wide distribution. Like, I wasn't able to watch it for free, which is fine. What quite often. I mean, Jimmy, you own it on probably Laserdisc. Is that what you said?
Yeah. No, on the Blu-ray, yes, but it was on TV off and on over the years. Like, I remember like Freeform showed it and other people showed it, but I guess this year they decided just like
I think
buy it.
Well, this year if you have a Stars subscription, you can watch it. That's a premium. Obviously, that's
I had a Stars, but I got a Stars for one of these movies, and then I was like, oh, I'll cancel it next week. And of course, I forgot, so I had Stars for like 3 months. I'm like, all right, I'll watch some Spider-Man on here. Well, but John, we did Jingle All the Way last week, and I was saying that which you weren't able to join us for, but that the movie's from the late 90s, and 96, it's definitely 96, but it's definitely become a classic, a cult classic. A lot of people, we had our friend Henry on here, and he was saying how in his household it definitely was a movie that they watched over. And that comes from being on TNT all the time. Like, basically, absolutely. So I mean, I would hope Arthur Christmas would get it's the Sony, right? Sony?
It's an Aardman and Sony Pictures Animation collabo. Yeah.
So Sony does not have its own
streaming service.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Coming soon. I think this is definitely going to be one of those that is, as the years pass, it's going to become a sort of a modern new classic.
Well, I think it will, but again, it's like I mean, just to put a bow on our Christmas movie coverage.
There's always time for a bow.
Yes, well, I mean, we've covered two of the all-time greats, the two Christmas movies, really, Miracle on 34th Street, It's a Wonderful Life. I would say that A Christmas Story is the other one that we haven't done.
Yeah.
Next year, 2021, we can do it. There's still plenty of Christmas movies. Don't worry.
You can do Christmas in July.
No, we're not. No. We are doing a hard stop. No,
I'm doing a separate podcast, Christmas in July. John is on.
Jimmy, I will be on it sometimes, but I'm not going to do Christmas all year.
Nope, I'm doing.
There's other holidays. I'm going to move on.
Right. We should do Flag Day and Arbor Day.
Yes, we should. But
you're a grand old flag. We probably could do Flag Day. Probably could.
But as we look at the history of these movies and how they became the beloved classics, it is, of course, It's a Wonderful Life was, fell out of copyright and was shown constantly. Same thing. Miracle on 34th Street was always shown every Christmas. It's just, it's shown on Thanksgiving Day, I think, as part of the parade. Like, I know that's what I would see it. And, all these movies have these traditions. I see Jingle All the Way on TNT all the time, so even if you have just basic cable, It's on there. So this movie, you know, I agree. I think it should be. I'm going to tell my family to watch it if they haven't already. They like, if my family hasn't, you know, they're big Anglophiles and Christmas nuts. So, you know, and I think they have stars. So gonna.
It's funny. I forgot who posted it, but it might have been our friend Jill, who works at, as an editor at IO9, and she posted something one of her writers did about like, some of the best, like, not well-known Christmas movies. And Arthur, like, I saw like a ton of people in the comments go, Arthur Christmas, like, they're like, some people know it and love it. It's just, I think you're right. It needs to be seen more. It needs to be like regularly shown. People to discover it.
If they make a deal with Netflix, I think it would definitely like help its popularity.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Because I think you said it in the beginning. The name is a little problematic because it does, like, Arthur Christmas. What is that? That's like those other, like, Fred Claus, you know, things like that. You're like, what is that? You know, but it's such. I mean, there's so many heartwarming moments in this film, and like I said, I've taken away that whole "always time for a bow" thing, and I've applied it to, to mean whether they meant that meaning or not. That's what it means to me. And just take the time to appreciate those little things in your life and those people in your life, which is so great. Yeah, I learned it from a little Scottish rapping elf.
But that's why we watch Christmas movies. You know, I mean, that's why we enjoy all these and revisiting. Now, okay, like I said, since we're wrapping up our Christmas months, Jimmy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
With your vast love of Christmas, why do you not watch more of the Lifetime Christmas movies?
John and I were just talking about this last night. We did our favorite Christmas like comics and TV and film podcast last night, and we talked about how Netflix, or John, you say what you were saying, like about how Netflix thing.
I was saying that I do enjoy the Lifetime Christmas movies. I don't know much about the Hallmark Channel Christmas movies, but I was saying
they're very similar.
Yeah, but I was saying how Netflix is slowly creeping up to be on par, if not trying to overturn Lifetime as having amazingly wonderful, cheesy, mid-budget Christmas movies. Like Netflix now has like a division, like it's like the Christmas we make Christmas movie division.
Yeah, so it's great, and they're cheesy. In fact, like the Vanessa Hudgens did a couple of them, and Rose McIver's in that successful trilogy now.
Don't they have the Dolly Parton one, right?
That was yikes.
They've got it.
Let's just yeah.
No. Okay. All right.
So on the Square. Yikes.
Well, no. I knew she did a new thing, but it wasn't Christmas related.
It's called Christmas on the Square. It's a new movie. She did two. She has two specials. One where she's singing with friends and talking about stories. The other one is an actual movie that is yikes. Ooh, with Christmas.
Well, then Netflix has maybe a little ways to go, with their hillbilly elegy.
But to answer your question with like, I've seen some of the Lifetime ones on occasion. If it's like a star I like I know like Summer Glau did one. I'm like, I want to watch that, and that was cute. I watched one of the girls from the Pitch Perfect movies. She was like one of the two girls in the background. They always called them the same name. And she's actually a really good singer, and it was like a musical sort of one when she sang, and I watched that one. I was like, so on occasion I'll check one out. They're all pretty much the same formula, obviously, like they're all most of them are very similar. So that's sort of the reason. Maybe I don't watch them all, but on occasion I check them out. But yeah,
I think it is like a box of chocolates.
Yeah.
Where there's just different flavored buttercream inside each one. It's not like an assortment of cookies like the Danish cookies, where each one is different, really.
Simpsons just did a really good sort of like skewering of it of a recent episode of it, where this came to town, this Lifetime style Christmas movie came to town to Springfield. And like you hear the producer on, what? Well, if she doesn't want to do it, give me Marky Post. Marky Post will be here tomorrow. Things like that. It's like, it's so great. I'm like,
man,
yes, yeah.
I definitely watch that.
So
well, there would be. I'll say this: there was one movie that we will never, ever, ever talk about here, and that is Love Actually. I am among those who detest that film entirely.
I've never seen it all the way through.
Oh,
what?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. I know you're probably familiar with that Jezebel article from years ago, right?
I mean, no, I did. I read it, but I mean, I watched it. It was, ex-husband. He was like, "Oh, you're gonna really love this, Heidi," and then afterwards, I was like,
"You don't know me."
There was a bit of a row, and I was like, "What about this?" And he was like, "Oh."
Yeah, no, it's very, very problematic. In retro, like when I first, I'm like, "Oh, it's charming, it's fun," but then looking back, so for some reason, it still has some weird nostalgia for me. so where I like it, but I'm like, there's so many bad people in that movie. So many bad things happen.
There's no redeeming qualities to it to me.
No, he's trying to steal his best friend's wife. He's cheating on his wife. He buys,
and Laura Linney, and Laura Linney is like, I guess I'll talk to my drug addict boyfriend instead of be happy in life. So yeah, that's a great decision.
No, her brother, her
brother,
her mentally
ill brother. All right, I mean it's important, but it's like just go. Anyway,
but it was an amazing cast. You're like, oh my god, but yeah.
Well,
for some reason, I still have some nostalgia with it and watch it every year. But I agree with everything in that Jessica article.
So one other film that just came out, and Jimmy, we might have mentioned this when we were talking about Christmas movies. What about Last Christmas?
I just saw it last year, or this year.
Yes,
it came out last year, and I just finally saw it this year. I liked it. I thought it was. I know it was pretty predictable.
And it flopped hard.
It's literally in the title, Last Christmas. It's literally, and it's in the song, so it's a little cheesy. But I mean, Emma Thompson, she wrote it, right? Or she definitely had a big hand in it, and she's in it. There's a lot of cheesy moments, but I didn't know all the history of it until after I saw it. I'm like, oh, now I see what it is. So now I can kind of see why people maybe felt it was too on the nose, like Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, literally, and it's like but I liked it because I think they're both, especially, my God, Henry Golding.
I was going to say, of all the movies, you wouldn't have to recast it because Henry Golding as the
Henry Golding in the Mother of Dragons,
Amelia Clark. Yeah, I think
I liked it.
I liked it too. And have you seen it, John? Or
it was like, I should watch that, and then I never do.
Yeah,
I think it's on HBO or one of those channels.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to become a huge classic.
No, I don't think so.
But I do think it was. It's also got Michelle Yeoh in it, right?
Yeah. Sorry, Michelle Yeoh. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Jimmy's dream Christmas, casting.
Almost,
Jimmy cast the movie,
pretty close.
But I would I hope it gets resurrected. I hope it gets rehabilitated a little bit because it just got panned when it came out, and
it really did.
And I think it's better than that. I think
that Paul Feig movie too.
Oh, I don't know.
Did he direct it?
I don't know.
I think he might have. I think you're right. I think it was also Amelia Clark coming off Game of Thrones, and Henry Golding coming off Crazy Rich Asians, and Paul Feig is huge, and I think it was sort of like everybody was just ready to be taken down a peg.
Yeah, I mean, I think that does happen so much in this world, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take them down a peg. I don't care.
So not to detract from your last episode where you two talked about Christmas movies, but what are some of your other underrated Christmas movies? John,
go ahead.
My favorite Christmas movie is Batman Returns. We talked.
Yeah, we talked. That's so great. Yeah, so good.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it takes place during Christmas, and I don't know. There's a lot of it that I love. That I don't know. I always go back and forth. I'm like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie or is it not a Christmas movie?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Christmas music plays beginning and the end. I'm like, I'm all for it. If you want to make it, yes, it's fine. It's a Christmas. I'll take it. It's fine. Yeah, and it's great.
But they always say that Shane Black's movies are always Christmas movies.
Yes. So.
Iron Man 3 took place.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to do
Kiss
Bang Bang for this, but then I decided to stick with this more traditional Christmas. But next year, but we'll be out of lockdown next year, so it'll be so much more fun. We could sit around and do this in person or something. But or a different format.
So many modern ones of the past 20, 30 years that I just have to watch every year, like Christmas Vacation, The Muppet Christmas Carol, the best Christmas Carol ever. Elf, of course, and we were talking about how Scrooge and oh my God, Carol Kane and Scrooge. Jesus.
Oh my God.
Carol Kane.
Brilliant.
Oh, she's in anything. Love anything. her.
But also TV specials we talked about. So the British, and we were talking about how England always has Christmas specials for their TV shows. I have to watch the Gavin and Stacey, now 2 Christmas specials every year, and then the Miranda one, and then there's even the Vicar Dibley. I'll watch those because they're just fun and festive and silly, but yeah, I love them. But the modern one, Dave said in the beginning, Jingle Jangle is one of the best modern ones.
I haven't seen that.
So brilliant. It's a musical.
Okay.
The music is fantastic. A great cast, and what a cast! I mean, God.
Okay.
And if you're looking for a horror movie, Krampus is a fantastic.
I still haven't seen it.
It's a really.
I know. I
really
keep
good
meaning to.
movie.
I think I'm going to watch it this year. That's planned
So
on.
Really
what
well
do you
done.
got? Where do you guys stand on Bad Santa, which I haven't seen?
I've seen it. It's okay. I liked
It's
it. I didn't love it.
Yeah, if I recall, it was funny. They made a sequel of all things
Yeah.
too.
I'm
Like
really desire to go
not
see
so,
it.
he's okay, Santa.
Yeah. I have no desire to go see it all, to watch it over and over again. But
I think what I actually really enjoyed was Christmas Office Party.
Really? I
Mm.
could. I mean, I'm in. I'll check it out.
I think I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
When
Well,
I
I
watched
just
it.
saw the Harold and Kumar one recently. I really enjoyed that. So I was like,
Yeah.
all right.
I'm looking at my Netflix here, but have you not seen All I Want for Christmas Is You, the Mariah Carey cartoon?
Of course, I've seen that. Yes.
I haven't
It's
seen
not
it.
great. Yeah, the cartoon's not great. Her new Apple special though is fantastic. She's she's the queen of Christmas now, and she owns it. I'm all here for it. She's great.
Well, it is. See, that's what I guess that's what I'm getting at here, though. Is it's fascinating to see what like boomers have had a death grip on Christmas for so long, and with Christmas music, it's like like when I was a kid, I'm no spring chicken. I'm on the cusp of boomer, but sure, let's say I'm one. But I'm actually mentally I'm Gen X. I just gotta say that.
I'm Gen X, yes.
And emotionally too. But like if you went to the store, you heard these songs, and up until about 10 years ago, I'd say I heard the exact same songs when I was shopping. And now finally the boomers have left, loose. They're dying off so much that All I Want for Christmas is the Christmas song now, and there's a couple of other
It's a brilliant song.
Oh, it's a great song. It's
have you
always
ever seen how it's like broken down? It's like the
yeah. It's a
So
it's an amazing song. Walter Artaniev's gift to Mariah, some say. But yeah, and there's some other songs. God, there's Anyway, I was in CVS when I got Baby Grogu, and I heard some of these songs. But it's interesting also to see the movies. Like A Christmas Story, was it 15, 20 years ago? I would say that movie suddenly became the movie for Christmas. And it's my favorite.
They kept, again, like you guys said, they kept repeating it over and over again.
And I will say, love Christmas Story is probably my favorite Christmas movie because I love Gene Shepherd.
So good.
The writer of that is such a great writer. His short stories, everything. I'm just a huge fan of his, huge admirer of his. And yeah, so it's just really interesting, like what can break through into, a lot of people love Christmas Vacation. A lot of them.
I have to watch it at least once or twice a year. I just watched it again the other day.
Home
I
Alone
love
also.
Yes.
Home Alone too,
yeah.
Brilliant, bro. There's so many great. I mean, we talked about it yesterday in our special.
Yeah.
About the music too. So many great albums out every year, and classics to new ones, and it's in the. There's always that's what I love. I mean, I love Christmas so much, but so much entertainment comes from it.
It does.
Movies, TV, film, music.
But it's very
books,
competitive.
audiobooks.
It's very competitive because if you could write a Christmas song that stuck, I mean, what did they say?
Challenge accepted.
Yes.
John and I, let's get on it.
What do they say? Like Mariah Carey makes $100 million every Christmas or something. I mean, it's ridiculous how much money she makes because she's credited as the songwriter also. Yeah. So is what I'm getting at. But yeah,
I think she had a little hand in that.
I'm sure. I'm not. I'm just saying there's shade. People throw shade at Mariah. I think she's amazing, and
she's the queen of Christmas. I bow down to her absolutely.
She's So it's fascinating, and that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed in this Christmas series is kind of looking at classic, the ultimate classics, and then some newer movies. And the Star Wars Holiday Special. So
there you go.
It's been a nice range. So
So because it's an animated film, I didn't really see about any modern casting. But then John and I talked yesterday, like, well, maybe we could kind of modern day recast this a little. So
modern day. It's an 8-year-old movie.
I know it's a 9-year-old movie. I know, but but still. But you know what I mean, make it the Jimmy casting with lead of Asians and ethnic. So if we were to do that, let's say Arthur Chris with James for Arthur Claus, we're gonna have to do Brock from Pokemon. So Brock could play Arthur.
That's very cute.
Yeah, he'd be good.
Yeah.
And then from for Steve Claus, Light Yagami from Death Note because he's so calculated.
Oh, nice, nice,
everything,
very good.
Yeah, for sure. Grand Santa. We're gonna go from the very famous anime and manga Bleach, Shingaku Yamamoto Genrika. Grand Santa, perfect.
All right, I
Come
like
on.
this. I like this casting. I like this twist on casting.
Yeah.
Very good. Very
And
good.
then,
Well done.
Malcolm Claus. We're gonna go to Yu-Gi-Oh, another wildly popular. Then we go with Sugaruko Muto
Nice.
as Santa, as Malcolm.
He even looks like him. So
Yeah,
good.
exactly. And then for Margaret Claus, we're gonna do the granny from My Neighbor Totoro. She's the granny, it'd be so cute because she's smart, knows what's going on. And then as Bryony, I'm gonna cast a little girl as Bryony because she's tenacious like Bryony is. May from from My Neighbor Totoro, who just
cute.
has to go
Yes.
get everything,
Yep.
She knows what she wants in this world. And then finally, as our cute little Gwen, also another Studio Ghibli film. We're gonna go with from Spirited Away, Chihiro Ogino, and she can play our little May, who's waiting on her.
Nice.
Cool. So
nice.
so
Very
that's
well done. All right.
My twist on animated casting.
I loved it.
Silly, I know.
I loved it.
All righty.
Well, I guess it's time for us all to go off to the real holidays.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
have our own Christmas story.
You guys have a great one, and Merry Christmas to everyone. And I hope it's a good one. I know it's been a horrible year, a terrible year for everybody and all of us, but hopefully, like Queen Mariah says, why not take this time, as we always do every year, to celebrate and bring joy and happiness to your friends and family. So let's try to do that if we can. It's okay if you don't, but I'm going to spread some Christmas love and cheer through just, podcasting and saying hello and these little Zoom things I have with friends. So and thank you guys for being my Christmas present by being my friends.
Awesome. Thank you, Jimmy.
Your presence is our presence.
It is.
And that's what I used to say, in lieu of your presents, send presents, but that's okay.
And I this is our last Comic Beat Insider of 2020. I know Jimmy is podcasting up a storm, so I'm
doing 6 this week.
Yeah, he's doing 6. So this is not Jimmy's final podcast, but it's mine anyway. I think. Yes, that's right. We're not podcasting again. But you know what, guys, this has been a pleasure, like doing this with you. And John, you come quite often, and as often as you can. We love having you, and this is absolutely, I know, been one of the fun things about this past 2020 is getting to spend more time doing this and talk about movies and fun things.
Should we tease what we have coming up in January and February?
Yes, we have. So Jimmy and I planned ahead, and for January, we're doing Kung Fu month, because guess what? January is a tough month, and I thought some good, rousing action, fun movies would really be a good way to kind of keep our spirits up.
I feel like John may join us for some of these.
Yes, John, I would love to have you for the whole thing, because we're kicking it off. The next one will be Kung Fu Hustle, which for me is one of the all-time feel-good movies. So
I love Kung Fu Hustle.
I could watch it a billion times. The way Jimmy feels about everything is how I feel about Kung Fu Hustle. Right. Yeah. So and then
hey, I'm like I'm the opposite of Mikey. I like everything.
Yes.
I try to find the goodness.
You do.
In everything. I like everything, like fuck Iron Fist, but but for the most part, I try to find the goodness.
And that's it's beautiful. And then we're doing musicals. And of course,
in February, yes.
In February, we will be doing musicals, because guess what? It's cold and dark in February too, and we need this song to lift us out. So so we have some good times ahead of
March,
us.
We do nothing but Irish films. No, maybe.
Yes, and then in March we're doing Jimmy. We talked about doing Ingmar Bergman month. Remember?
That's fine,
and Lars von Trier. Ingmar Bergman and Lars von Trier. That I think would be great for March.
For 2027. Yes. Awesome. All right, you guys, let's get out of here.
All right.
I'd say, but thank you all for watching Arthur Christmas. I appreciate it. I'm glad.
Thanks for recommending it.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna probably go watch it again later. I love it. And for all you guys out there listening, let us know your thoughts on Arthur Christmas. I know a lot of people seem to really dig it. So, and if you ever have any suggestions for us to do for movies or TV, send them to us. Let us know. Maybe we'll see if might be something we don't know. Maybe we'll want to check out. Something I'm woefully behind in actually is things like anime. Maybe we can do like an anime month like that. So
it's endless. We'll never stop. We'll do this for the rest of our lives. We'll never run out of things.
Yeah, until they, as I said last night, until they pull the cold dead mic out of my hand. It's like they're gonna have to. But thank you everybody for who's joined us for these Comic Beat Insiders and listened in. And I've gotten like little messages on social media here and there about some of the episodes, which is great. And everybody that's participated, we love you. Thank you so much. We'll love to have you all back at some point. So hopefully we will. And of course, thank you to Heidi, who suggested that this whole thing, we do this thing, which was awesome. It's turned out, and came up with a name, which was really great. And really awesome. Just from me had never seen the Evil Dead trilogy. So all comes to this. But everybody have a great Christmas, great New Year. And until next time, we'll see you.
Everybody,
Comic Beat Insider.
Stay safe. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Jimmy Aquino with Comic News Insider. You can find us at comicnewsinsider.com. If you want to find me, I'm just at Jimmy Aquino, JIMMYAQUINO on the social medias.
And again, you can find me at The Beat at comicsbeat.com and on all social media as Comixace, COMIXACE.
And you can find me on social media at JONHOCHE.
And on just about every episode of Comic News Insider. So there you go.
Until next year. 2020 is almost over, folks.
That's right. Remember, there's always time for a bow.